Alright, now we're going to pull the stator. We're going to pull the gear position sensor here, the shift assembly here. I've got the hydraulic clutch assembly here. And we will take all the 8mm out. This cover should just pop off. Magnetic force from the back, just because that stator is magnetic, that flywheel. Underneath there, here's the flywheel here. Here's a starter drive gear. So we've got this idler gear, we've got this Bendix gear here. We will get ready to pull this flywheel. This idler gear we'll set aside. I'll pull this is just a regular threaded bolt. What I'm going to do with this is actually going to thread this back in a little ways, and I'll show you why. I'm going to leave about a 1/4 inch gap. And then what we're going to do is find a puller that fits on this. Thread this on. The reason why I left that center bolt in there was so that when this goes down onto it doesn't damage the crank. We'll run this puller in, and we won't be able to pull it off too far, but enough to break it free. Here. A lot of times that'll break it free, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you pull it off and you make sure that you're not hitting against that. And you can feel there's a little movement in there, so you know that this is free. So then we'll take that. If there's any damage at all, it'll be done to that bolt, which on this case there was not. The other reason why we needed that bolt is because the center bolt here wasn't long enough, and it would not go completely down to the crank on this one. So pull that off there. There's your idler gear here, and there's a one-way clutch, so you can only spin this gear one way. If you can spin it both ways, then you've got a problem, and this one way will need replaced. Feels good. This is your actual crankshaft here. So here's a Bendix gear. You got your cam chain here, and we will pull that cam chain now. So pull this guide here, and this will be your front cam chain. Slide this out. Pull the gear shift linkage apart. We'll also pull this hydraulic clutch apart. Gear position sensor. That seals with an O-ring right there. And we'll just be able to pull this off after we remove those two 10mm bolts. There's a rod there. Okay, now we'll pull this shift assembly off. There's the cover for it there. And we can take these pieces apart too. We'll have to pull the Allen bolt. That's spring loaded in there. More shifting parts. Got a 10mm, kind of a specialty bolt there holding this shift arm on. Right now what we're going to do is pull the oil cooler here. We've got a 14-inch bolt on this side by the oil filter, and then one on the other side as well. Bolts coming in from the front. There we go. Now that oil cooler's off. We can separate them from the hoses. These banjo bolts are specialty bolts here that will keep with this cooler. Banjo bolts, and then a washer on both sides. So we got those out. We'll flip this motor to the other side and pull the clutch assembly apart. We've got a sensor here on this side. We've got the starter here. We've got an oil sensor here. Dipstick is here. Sight glass or filler cap is here. Sight glass is here. Holds 3.7 liters of oil. So I'll start. I'm going to loosen up this sensor. It's easier to do that now than later. And then there's 8mm bolts all the way around this clutch cover here. There's a sensor there. All right. have all those bolts out, or lift this cover up, and we'll see the clutches in there. We've got the other cam chain behind here that will get out. We've got the clutch that will take 10mm bolts all the way around that. These are spring loaded. We'll try to keep these together. I'll show you why here. Try to keep all this together as much as we can. It's time consuming just to put them back together. So we'll loosen this, slide these clutch plates back down where they came from. And we'll pull that nut there. Got an 1 3/16 nut there. Alright, we'll spin that nut off. Keep those together. Now what we're going to do is put this back. And put these back on. After doing that, we should just be able to slide all the clutch baskets, all the plates, all that together off of here. So that's why we kept the springs and the bolts together. Alright, now, like I said, we should just be able to pick this up out of here. Obviously not quite tight enough. I think I've got these not quite centered, so well, that'll just pull that up like that. Same difference, but now we can just lift this clutch basket up out of there. A couple spacers that sit in behind the clutch basket. We've got these gears here. We got the oil pump here. And we've got the starter, 2 8mm bolts to pull this starter off. We'll go ahead and remove this. You can just come in behind the starter, give it a little push, and it'll pop right out of the other side. You have to wiggle it. It seals with an O-ring. And that'll pull right out like that. We've got an oil sensor here.